Good morning and welcome to episode 110. 110 episodes, who would have thought? We haven't got no Adam again. He's a very, very busy chap with education. I think he's out and about again today, isn't he, Elena? He's off, yeah, exactly. So, I'm very pleased to welcome my new guest for 2026, the second guest of 2026. For our listeners, would you care to introduce you and where you're from?
My name is Mark Talon and I'm the administrator of Northern Athletics.
And you live in this building, or you work in this building?
I do, when you can catch me.
Honestly, sometimes it's like a miracle. So for those people out there, I mean, obviously, Northern Athletics, it says what it says on your shirt, but what is Northern Athletics? What do you do?
So we're responsible for organising athletics competition in the north of England.
Wow.
So from track and field, road running, cross country. So we sit below England Athletics in the kind of chain of organisation. So if you want to be the Northern champion in your discipline, you'd need to come and take part in one of our championships.
Oh gosh, right. And so what does administrator mean? Probably in my head it means everything.
It does involve a lot of different things. For example, this morning I've been taking receipt of medals and checking medals for the cross country championships in next week. Lose track of things. Going through some entries, checking people are in the right age groups, checking they've entered from our affiliated clubs for the junior indoor championships. They're in 2 weeks. What else have I been doing this morning? Looking through officials' appointments for the cross-country championships next week. So it's a lot of looking after athletes, looking after officials, and just checking everything is there to support the event when it takes place. It's very wide-ranging.
Yeah, I can.
I go through a lot of paper making to-do lists because if I don't write things down, something will blindside me from something I've forgotten about.
Right. Okay then.
Yeah.
So in terms of the events, Mark, I mean, is it track and field, or is it, can we get something like shot putting, javelin, high jump? Is it everything?
Yeah. So. Yeah, there's the track and field side of things. So last weekend was the senior indoors, in 2 weeks the junior indoors. There's no javelin at the indoors, obviously, but...
Oh, why?
Can you imagine sitting in those seats at the end of that stadium?
I hope he doesn't break the world record.
But at the indoors, you have your shot put, you have your pole vault, high jump, triple jump, long jump, range of track events. But then, as I said, next week we've got the cross-country championships at Pontefract. So there's 10 races, different age groups throughout the day, which finish at the end of the day with the 12K senior men's race, if you like your Mudfest.
I can imagine.
So that's the great thing about athletics. If you're a power athlete, if you're a strength athlete, speed, endurance, there's a discipline for you. You know, whether you enjoy the technical things. I wouldn't dare try and pole vault or triple jump.
No.
Too technical. But from that to the cross country, back on the track, there's the hurdles. There's something for everyone in track and field, cross country, road running. There's athletics encompasses everything.
It does really, doesn't it? And in terms of what you're looking after, do you look after literally every single sport?
Yeah.
So you must get an insight into certain things for each sport. But you're like, no, that one's not for me. But
I think that with the age groups that people compete in, so we take athletes from under 13 at the moment. There's some age group changes coming in after April where the youngest age group will be under 14. And those athletes that come in at that age, within their clubs are obviously trying lots of different things at that young age, which gives them the chance to choose where they want to go in the future and where they want to develop and compete in the future.
Oh, that's fantastic in terms of that. Do you, I'm jumping slightly, but, how long have you been at Northern Athletics now?
I've been at Northern Athletics for 4 years as the administrator, but I've been involved in athletics for 31, 32
You're not that
years.
old, surely.
Because I started very young. Yeah, I started as a member of the Minnows group at Newmass Carriers.
Right,
not very far from here. So I was never a particularly good athlete myself. But, mentioning the different disciplines for different types of athletes, athletics also offers things like the administrative role that I've got now, which I'm lucky to do professionally. But there's also the volunteer technical officials and volunteers around the events in terms of things like registration, other kind of, we call them ancillary roles.
Yeah.
There's something for everyone, whether you're an athlete or not. So it's just a great sport.
I can imagine it is. So, obviously, as you were saying, you've got Pontefract, you have the Harriers. How far is it? I know it says northern, but, what's the range, if you know what I mean? I'm trying to gauge.
So the furthest we go down south is Derbyshire.
Okay, so it's fairly...
but we stretch up to the north, so the north of England obviously goes up to Northumberland as well.
Right, okay.
So it's quite a big range of...
That is a huge
catchment area.
I was about to say, and you're the administrator for all of that.
Yeah, but one of the things I enjoy personally is that I joke that I'm the most connected man in the north.
Surprise!
Because you end up having good contacts, good friends when you've held a successful event somewhere in all of these far-flung places. So that's quite enjoyable for me personally.
No, I can imagine, and it probably sounds cliched, but for the event, you must feel as though you're running the marathon, because right from the start, you're planning way ahead, and it's a long sort of like...
It can be, yeah. It's a marathon with a very intense sprint at the end still, because you can plan, you send your emails out, you fill your booking forms in months in advance, but then within a few days of the event, so as I said, for next week, we've taken the medals today, we'll, just checking things like that. But then when it comes to the week before, you're obviously getting all of the numbers sorted, printing, signing in sheets, checking computers are ready. And it can become very, very intense.
I can imagine.
And then when you actually arrive at the event site, we're very, very reliant on our dedicated, volunteers to help, because one man can't do it alone.
Nope.
Last week at Sheffield for the senior indoors, there was people in the competition was Saturday, Sunday, but we had volunteers in on the Friday, checking that all the equipment was ready.
Of course.
Take-off boards for long jump,
Yeah.
access for the poles, for pole vault, that type of thing. But then most of the same people were back in the building at 7 o'clock on Saturday morning, setting up registration, seeding, results, photo finish, all of the technical things. And then the event goes on, say, until 6 o'clock, and then there's a bit of a tidy up. 2-day event, so the guys are in the next day doing it again, and then we're all very bleary-eyed at work on Monday afterwards. So
I mean, God bless the people that are volunteers. I mean, there's a lot of disciplines, there's a lot of companies I know that rely heavily on volunteers, but also for them, it must be quite enjoyable, because when you go there. I remember, God bless my dad and me, going to Scotland for the Glasgow Olympics and seeing Daley Thompson and stuff like that, and it's such a buzz. So, but those people, they must get that buzz as well, being behind the scenes.
I think so. I mean, obviously we wouldn't do it if we didn't enjoy it.
No.
One example of people enjoying things, I'm sure he wouldn't mind me saying this if he saw this, but our president at present, Graham Hall, is a member of New Mask.
Right, okay,
So it's nice to have North East people in these prominent positions. And his role as president was handing out medals. Again, sounds really kind of mundane, but, at the end of the day, the athletes compete for the medals. So that little medal ceremony at the end of the events, that's actually the most key part of the event. And it was really nice watching Graham shaking hands with Joy Eze, Lee Thompson, Andy Robertson, and it was nice to see him enjoying meeting these top athletes that were competing at our events. So yeah, I think that all the volunteers do enjoy it, and as a sport, it's much easier to get closer to your heroes.
Yes, it is, isn't it? Yeah.
Within athletics.
Yeah, because you're there all the time, aren't you? I mean, you're physically seeing them, watching them. You are really close to them. So that must be great for them as well. So,
without doubt.
Yeah, exactly. So as administrator, obviously, you're at the top, so to speak, and flowing down, trying to manage. Again, give us an example. I know you said you were doing medals of that, but actually on the day, are you just flitting around?
On the day, it tends to be a case of chaos to begin with.
Yeah.
I've got some colleagues who are really good at the technical side of things, so they help get computers set up for registration. Registration a long time ago used to be very much a paper exercise, but in recent years we've moved to a competition management program called Roster. And within the one cloud-based program, the athletes can make their entries. The check-in at registration can be done. From who's checked in, that information within the same cloud system goes to seeding, who produce the first round of start lists for the races on the track and the field cards for the field events. And that can also be connected to by photo finish, and the results come out automatically all from this cloud-based program. So setting registration up at the beginning of the day has gone from a paper exercise to, are the computers there? Is there my colleague Tim always talks about hardwired internet, but obviously we can use, SIM cards in devices as well. But it's just basically making sure that everyone's supported to get their stations set up.
Yeah.
Do the athletes have QR codes on the walls to get their start lists,
Right, yeah.
times when they need to be into call room? It's just basically firefighting, really.
Yeah.
After the first few hours when things are running, then you can take a sort of a deep breath. Then it all kind of kicks off towards the end of the day again, just because of the human element of I don't want to be there any longer than I have to be. The other guys don't. So then you do a firefighting in reverse, trying to get everything packed up.
Yeah.
So it's just full on 100 mile an hour, really, for parts of the day.
How does that affect your family life? Because obviously, as you say, I hardly see you here because you're always out at other events. When I do see you here, it's like, hi, Andy, bye, Andy.
Yeah, I run you over with a trolley of equipment as I go past you.
Definitely.
I think there's a lot of us that could end up being kind of athletics widows or widows. We're aware a lot of the time, particularly talking about me personally, so I volunteer a lot as well.
Right, okay.
So if I'm not working on a weekend, the chances I'll be working as a starter or a starter's assistant on a track somewhere.
Yeah.
So I think that there's a lot of people who actually officiate as couples. Because I think that one or the other's decided that's the only way they can see the other one. But yeah, it's definitely a bit of a strain at times, I think.
Can imagine in the early days of Resilient, when it was only me, I hardly saw my wife because I was just literally like, bye, I'm off, come back, hello, I'm out again. And then eventually, because my wife's very good at being PA, I often joke, she rules my life as well as my business. Just the way I like it. But she actually got pulled into the business, and quite honestly, we wouldn't see each other if it wasn't the case of working together.
Yeah.
So I think you find that happy medium.
Yeah.
But again, I remember being at the Olympics with my father in Scotland, and not only did I get the buzz of seeing Daley Thompson, stuff like that, I remember at the time like sitting back in one of the lulls, and all the athletes were just sat there and they were like getting ready for the next event. I looked around, all the people were getting drinks, all the people were sort of like, what's the next action? And then you look at all of the people that are actually helping, and they're still running around like idiots, and it's just like, wow. And the comparison between we've got a 10-minute break now before blah, 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 and then a mass of people running around.
There's always something that needs to be done.
Yes.
And amongst the volunteers, at the beginning of this talk, I mentioned we have road and cross country. So if anyone's watching and getting offended, I know we are being very track and field focused here, aren't we? I need to just at least acknowledge that I'm aware of that. But yeah, if you've just had hurdles races on the track, the next event might be in 10 minutes and it'll be a flat race.
Yes.
But the tech team need to clear those hurdles off the track. Different events, even on the field, you might have had a long jump where you've got a takeoff board. The next event might be on that runway, might be a triple jump where the takeoff board needs to be further back. So your tech team, basically your engineering department, are just always working. So you're right, there's always something going on. One of the other things about the big national events or international events, as you say, in Glasgow, I often find when I go as a spectator, it's interesting as well because you don't know where to look sometimes. Correct. Because there's could be the shot put happening here, a long jump happening there, and you're waiting for the start of it. So it's all go. It's very difficult to know what to watch.
It's the only sport I think I've ever realised where you are sat and you are literally going, oh, there's a shot put. Hang on a minute. Oh, there's a long jump. Normally in any sport, it's you watch it from start to finish. Whereas in athletics, track and field, whatever you want, there's multiple events going on at some time.
Indeed, there really is. And that's where other roles within the sport, so your announcers or your commentators, particularly in a big stadium, Northern Athletics, we don't do that scale, but we have some announcers and commentators who, can draw the crowd's attention to what's going on. But that's also helped by the roster cloud-based system that I mentioned before, because a lot of the field officials now, instead of using paper again, they're typing the results into a tablet, which gets automatically uploaded. So actually people in the crowd on their phone, or the announcers as well, can actually see so-and-so through this distance in the third round. And you can really track the events now with these systems that are coming out.
Very clever. Ignoring the fact that we're now in an indoor stadium and trying to go to sort of like a cross country, you're out in the middle of, I wouldn't say in the middle of nowhere, but you're outside. How on earth do you manage to track everything in an outside environment? It could be peeing down with rain.
Well, the rain's an interesting thing at the moment because next weekend we're at Pontefract Racecourse, and Steve, my colleague on the cross country board, he's playing with 3 course maps at the moment. because until we really know what the weather's doing, we need to be good tenants. So we don't want to be. We don't want to be. We don't want to be causing too much. Is erosion the right word? But we don't want to destroy the fields too much where we are, because there might be a football team playing there the week after. So Steve's got 3 different course setups for the start of this cross country ready to go. So one of Monday's jobs will be publish the course that's been chosen, because I think there's going to be a check on Sunday. So the cross country, very much open to the elements and in advance needing that flexibility.
Yeah.
But as far as the communication goes, we've moved forward like a lot of people now. The results are done by chip timing. So on the track and field, you have photo finish, the camera on the finish line. When does the torso break the beam? With the cross country, we have a chip on the bib number now. So when that crosses the mats at the finish, and the results for that are pretty much instantaneous as well. On a website, we have a company that we hire in to help us with the entries and the results for cross country, and that runs very technologically now as well. So it's great. And being involved for 4 years now, within those 4 years, the roster system for track and field, the chip timing for the endurance events, the off-track events, it's actually been really nice for me to be involved in that, because it's actually a difference you can see that you've helped introduce into the organisation.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I want to touch on the tech at a later date in this podcast. One of the things that I wanted to touch upon yourself is that I'm finding a lot within my business, within my experience, within the people I talk to on the podcast, you have technology there, but you're still at the end of the day dealing with a person. We had a lovely lady last week, Tilly, and she's a change management person. And obviously, again, if we think about what you're doing, Mark, has there been an instant where, the roster clouds come along and everybody's gone, ooh, but maybe some people are going, but I'm used to pen and paper, I don't want this change. How do you feel as though the tech specific to your industry affects your people?
Yeah, I was going to look across to my left. There might be some editing needs to be done, so you don't know how you're going to offend people with things like this, because a lot of things, I hate to say it, there's an age element.
There is,
things.
100%.
And there's a lot of things where we have 2 different, not audiences, but kind of user groups maybe. The endurance side of things still works a lot of bulk entries, so you'll have a team manager who will enter a number of athletes rather than them entering as individuals. The way sports, I feel personally that sports going, there's ever fewer volunteers.
Right.
So the volunteers doing the team manager role, they're getting older.
Yeah.
So they tend to not like change.
Yep.
So the guys who run the entry system for us have been very good and put lots of instruction documents on the website, which are easy to follow. But you do get a lot of attitude of this isn't, not that there's a specific problem, but this isn't the system we've been using for 25 years. Absolutely. And it isn't.
It isn't.
But the system that's 25 years old, there's technological bugs, there's issues with, does the company that's running it have succession plans in place in terms of staff? And you've got to weigh those things up and look for, it's these buzzwords, isn't it, almost? It's future-proofing the organisation. Yeah. So some people don't like what we do, but we've got to stand, steadfast in our decisions and say it's the importance, to make sure the organisation doesn't fall apart. If a system falls apart, you need to move on to these new systems and use them. On that other hand, with the track and field, so track and field competitors in the championships tend to be younger, and the feedback tends to be, instant results on my phone, brilliant. Yeah. So there's 2 different sides to it, but I think that you've got to, as I said, with instruction documents, sounds very simplistic really, but it's part of supporting people in transitions into new systems. Other people just take to it like a duck to water. You just got to take each side as it comes. And work with it.
You've got to, Mark, and again, I don't think anybody, even some of my customers, bless them, some of them know. I've got some customers that will run into a problem, they'll at least try and resolve it themselves, so when they call or when they raise a ticket, they're going, look, Andy, this has crashed, what I've done is X, Y, and Z. I'm like, that's fantastic. Yeah. Other people are going, Andy, it's broken, I'm not touching it, can you fix it?
But one of the things I enjoy as well is when people make mistakes with things that are quite simple. You build your own knowledge up as well, so you're able to help people and sound like a genius as you're doing it. So for example, we had a lot of people couldn't enter the senior indoor championships, and Roster, the actual company, I said to them, I that owned the system, I said to them, I can't work out what's happened here. So they sent an email direct to the athlete and said, are you trying to enter 2026?
Yeah.
Or are you trying to enter, have you clicked on 2025 by accident and that's why it won't open? And that was the answer.
That was the answer.
So you get lots of simple user error on things like that. So after that, every now and then when people go, I can't enter, like, are you trying to enter the right year? Oh, yeah, sorry. And it's quite funny. But you've just built up the knowledge of, once you help people, you begin to see where the pitfalls are and what the sometimes very simple answers are, really.
The simple answers is interesting, and again, my father's become the star of this podcast because sadly I keep bitching about him. He loves the computers, he loves the internet, he's gone that. But whenever it goes wrong, it's like, it's not working, Andrew, or it's not working, Michelle, and we go around and there's a huge button or a huge thing, the program's crashed, unfortunately, please click OK and please relaunch. And I'm like, so did you read it? He went, oh, I don't touch those things. I'm like, but if you physically read it, what does it say? And he's like, yeah, it says press OK.
I think it's sometimes when you get stressed, and if you're not used to something, stress builds very quickly, doesn't it? And stress is very much a cloud.
It is.
I find it a cloud, and sometimes, last weekend I tried to support a friend of mine who was involved in organising the Yorkshire Cross Country Championships that were cancelled because of ice.
Oh, gosh.
Back on tomorrow. And I phoned her about half an hour after I knew everything had gone wrong. And I said, look, just forget it for a minute and just talk to me for 5 minutes, because in that stress situation, you don't read things. No, you don't take in information properly. And sometimes you just need that moment, take a deep breath, look around a bit and just come back to the real world and then see how simple the problem could be.
Oh, the amount of times, Mark, that sometimes I've been involved in an issue, and let's say that it's a critical issue, something's down, and you've obviously got the customer barking at you, and quite rightly so. I'm not knocking them, going, when's it going to come up? What's happening? And I'm going, I'm too close to it at the moment. Can I just ask? I'm just going to take a walk for 10 minutes. And they're like, what, you're walking away from me? And I'm like, no. And luckily, Mark, most of them trust me now. And you're absolutely right. I could walk away for 10 minutes and then I can come back and I can go, right, oh, bloody hell, there's the problem. Instantly seeing it. And I think it's a key factor.
There's a really interesting book called Black Box Thinking by Matthew Syed, who's an ex-international table tennis player.
Right.
But within that book, he talks about some really bad catastrophes in operating theatres, in hospitals.
Gosh.
And it was basically wasted time. They needed to act quickly, but in the pressure and the heat of the moment, they just completely lost track of the time.
Yes.
Patients were obviously dying because they didn't realise how much time they'd lost.
No.
So they were introducing simple things like having more people observing what was going on, keeping check of time and checklists and things, just to keep people kind of focused on what the actual problem was and not letting stress take hold, really, and losing grip on the current the current moment, really.
Absolutely. I agree. And going back to what you were saying, you're absolutely right with my father. It's the cloud. He can't see the big click OK button. And I'm just going, OK, I'll click OK, Dad. Now I'll double. What did you do? I clicked OK like it told me to. But again, it is in certain circumstances. I just don't understand. I just want to use it. That's fine.
But one of the other things that you mentioned, sort of on the earlier questions, is how do I work as an administrator? There's that much stuff going on, as we already discussed, that I can have the helicopter view.
Yeah.
I can't know the detail of everything because it'd be impossible. I wouldn't be effective, and I can't be everywhere at once.
Correct.
So I'm lucky that we've got a lot of great officials in the north who are kind of experts in their particular area. So again, going back to being connected again, but on a more small scale at your event, you've just got to know who can deal with a specific problem for you, and sometimes just being able to delegate to the right person is the solution, really.
Yeah, exactly.
Rather than just cause an explosion in your own head.
Oh, I think 9 times out of 10, that is actually a skill in itself. I know a lot of my friends, business people, and they just can't delegate because they're like, but if I give it to Mark, he wouldn't do it as good as I do. Okay, but the downside is you're absolutely snowed under and you're not getting your work done. So delegate. And he's like, I just can't. And, that is a skill in itself to actually learn to go, I'll give it to Mark. And I can sit there and go, he's not doing it right, he's not doing it. But at the end of the day, did you get the job done? Yeah, you did. Was it maybe as quick as I could do it? Maybe not. But you've delegated it, got the job done. I've got a happy customer, everybody wins. But it's a skill within itself. Being an administrator, you've got to have that knowledge to go, I'll delegate that. I need to step into here. I need to make that phone call to that person who's stressed just to calm him down.
Yeah.
That's what your role's all about.
There's another sort of, sound like a bookworm, don't it? But there's a book called Good to Great by an American academic called, I'm using all these words sounding like Jim Collins, he writes a book called Good to Great, and he's got a section about creating a team, and he talks about a bus, and he basically says to have the right team around you, it's like getting the right people on the bus. Doesn't matter what they're doing, surround yourself with the right people. Get the right people on the bus.
Yes.
When you've got the right people on the bus, you've got them, they're captive, they're yours, then you find the right seat on the bus for them.
Oh, clever.
So I've always liked that, and I always like to think that there's a core group of officials at Northern Athletics that are great, the board are great, and it's useful always knowing what people's strengths are and where you can kind of get your right help from.
Oh, honestly, I agree. One of my mentors in the very early days, he said to me that you will go into a company, or you will find a company, you will find a thing, and he called them the cogs of the company. And he went, what you've got to do is, whether they're the MD or whether they're just the person that cleans the floor, no disrespect meant at all, but without that person cleaning the floor, you could get the next person up slipping. Mm-hmm. And he went, that's the cog. Unless all the cogs are aligned and everybody's attuned, eventually the company will fail. And he went, you need to respect every cog.
Indeed.
Everybody's got their own place. I've got some friends, and they do what I would class, this is my personal opinion, as menial jobs, but they're happy. They're just going, Andy, I turn up, no stress, I've just got to do that job. 9 o'clock, I start, 5 o'clock, I go home. I'm happy. And yet, when I go back to my mentor, I'm going, but without you, that company would fail. You do an important role. So back to what you were saying, get everybody on the bus. I love that analogy. On the bus, then find their right seat. Some people get promoted. So we had, again, we won't mention the name, we've got a good friend of ours who got promoted within the company. 3 months, 6 months, he's like, nope, sorry, demote me. Because he didn't like that stress, that extra pressure. So he just went, put me down, please.
I sound like an idiot again. Is that the Peter phenomenon, where people eventually always get promoted above their own?
Yeah, absolutely right.
Ability level.
Yeah, but the great news is some people don't realise that. They like the extra, if you like, money. They like the extra responsibility. Hey, I'm a manager. But actually they're going, I do not enjoy my job anymore. And I said to him, all credit to you, my friend. He said, you've realised it, not it. He approached the board. Indeed. And he basically said, look, thank you so much for this opportunity. I've realised it's not for me. Can you knock me back down again? Everybody was happy. Everybody won. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but it goes back to that thing, everyone has their own particular skills,
yes.
don't they? And sometimes management, leadership, that the skills in themselves that people don't appreciate. So you often get people pushing because they've got a lot of subject knowledge.
Yes.
So they think that means they should be promoted, but obviously the leadership and management that comes with it. Fiona, who does our registration at Track and Field, she's amazing at dealing with people, so the customer service thing. And again, happy to have her because I don't have that skill.
Yeah.
As long as she's there talking to people, there's less chance of an explosion. As if I was there and someone complained to me about something. But it's all, as you said, the cogs in the wheel all do their own job.
I was talking to somebody literally yesterday, and they were explaining that within their business they have this person who is technically very, very, very clever. About a year ago, this person didn't have the time to speak to the end customer, so told this person to speak to the customer, and that person then lost that contract. And what it boiled down to is this person, who is exceptionally good at their job, is, I would say, not customer focused in the nicest possible way. So told the customer what was wrong, but told it in such a way that it's like, well, no, the reason this has failed is because you've failed, blah, blah, blah. So bless, talking to that person yesterday, I just open the cupboard, tell them what to do and close the cupboard again. And he said, that's perfect for what they do. And because I've recognised, using your analogy, what bus seat they're on, I never ever put them in front of the customer. But without this person, I wouldn't be able to do my job. So I love this person.
Yeah.
I just never would put them in front of the customer again. But again, it's fitting, isn't it? And you're saying the same thing about this lady Fiona. She put them in front, lovely front facing, because you're like, that's not for me. But that's fine. That's the way that it works, isn't it?
Yeah, indeed, yeah.
Within your team then, again, sounding like an athletics team, do you find, is it mixed in terms of ages, in terms of experience, and also, do you get people that are quick leavers and comers, or are you developed as a team, like a longevity thing?
The immediate team around me, you could probably say, is the actual elected board of Northern Athletics. So there are 2 board members for track and field, 2 members for road, 2 for cross country, a chairman and a treasurer.
Right.
They haven't really changed much in my 4 years. It's kind of a constant,
Good.
which is kind of good because they've got a billion years of knowledge between them.
Billion.
And, well, my colleague Malcolm on the track and field side of things, I won't say how old he is, but he's just got a wealth of knowledge that it'd be difficult to surpass.
Absolutely.
On the board, there's a number of people who did the 2012 Olympics and have done international events since. There's an age profile there. I can't hide it, but the experience is great. But there's co-option possibilities. So we've got my 2 colleagues, Claire and Mark, who've come on the board, who are below the age of 50, like myself, which is brilliant as well, because it does add a tech element. So we were talking about the other day about cloud sharing documents, so we're not firing emails with attachments and the associated pitfalls. So there's an energy and that comes in with these co-options of the younger people, which complements the experience and knowledge of other board members. I can't remember what the original question was. I hope this tangent's answering it. But it's a great team. I think it was the skills of the team, wasn't
the skills and the age.
So there's a lot of knowledge and a lot of experience, again, that I probably wouldn't surpass in a lifetime, and it's invaluable. And that knowledge with the kind of energy and modern way of thinking of say, Mark and Claire, again, new people that are coming in, it makes a great, well-rounded team.
I think what's interesting, Mark, is that, again, I'm seeing, and we are going to start touching on the technology, wherever I go, and any company, you have that, here's some new technology, and you will literally get the split. I've always done it this way. I don't want to change. No, let's grasp it, let's take it, let's run with it. And I think, again, as an administrator, you've probably got to find that balance. You can't run too fast, but let's touch on something you were saying about your road software, the cloud. The fact that you can get instant results must be an amazing benefit, whereas you may get some people going, I love writing out on a piece of paper and then...
The benefits are immense, in not just in terms of seeing the result, but if you've got earlier rounds, if it's a championship, the queue for qualification appears next to an athlete's name.
Yeah.
So sat in the grandstand, they've got no doubt they've got another race to come.
Yes.
Whereas in the past, it was the stress of you needed to go down to seeding and find a sheet stuck on a wall. Had they put the sheet up yet? Which sheet's mine? All these human stresses that you have, and you just want, as an athlete, you just want to be calm.
Yes,
you don't need that. So it's not just, so the results is just the simple side of it. The seeding information that's provided through a simple queue next to a name is a massive help. Another thing that the tech's done is using sheets linked on a cloud. So we used to have a track judge would write the result on a sheet on a pad, a specifically designed, paid for, designed, the printing companies making money from these things. They would write the result of a race on a piece of paper. That piece of paper would then go to the timekeepers, who would write the times down, write the times next to the athletes. That would then, the same sheet of paper would go up to photo finish, who then check, did the photo match what the judges saw and what the timekeepers stopped. Now we have a sheet in a cloud and some tablets. So the track judges in their sheet, result was this. Timekeepers have got a tablet. There's no one running backwards and forwards. But there are disadvantages to things like that. So the start lists are also on a tablet or on roster, but some of the track judges liked a piece of paper in their hand because it's handy to see who's coming down the track. My own discipline, starters assistants. So our equipment when we're on the track, we have a clipboard with a whiteboard because we, as a starters assistant, your job is to get the athletes on the start line.
Right.
On time, the timetable time to start the race. So we need a whiteboard to be able to signal the starter that everything's ready or to abort the start if something's going wrong. We are the people who then show the cards on behalf of the starter if there's a disqualification. So we have a set of cards. Sometimes we'll have a radio, so we can radio photo finish, lane 3 does not start, or disqualification, lane 2, whatever. So when the tablets came in, we were well, which hand do we want us to hold this?
I've not got 3 hands.
But we've got there, and we use it as well. So it's been a case of, so even myself in that example, I had that kind of 25% resistance going on in my mind to it as well. But over time, people are understanding that the advantages outweigh the disadvantages. So let's just do it and embrace it.
No, absolutely. What about the technology not only helping you, administrators, not only helping the volunteers, but touching on the athletes themselves? We've already said that the fact that you can see the queue, that must mean that the guy goes, right, I've got another race. Obviously, disappointingly, I've not got a queue. Fine, I need to work better. I need to go home. Take both examples. First, the person that hasn't qualified. Does he get fed all of the stats about his race himself via your system, or does he have his own technical something?
He'll have his time on the results,
right,
which is published as part of our event.
Yeah.
His season's best and PB, personal best, they're kept on his own profile.
Right, okay.
So the system we use, roster, is used by other event providers as well. So when he enters another event, his personal best or his season's best are already in the system.
Clever.
For example, we were using season's best to seed the heats last weekend. So when athletes were entering, if they'd raced already this season, the season's best were already in the system.
Nice.
So it was already there. The athlete didn't have to input anything.
No.
We didn't have to ask them. So things flow more for the athletes in terms of entering other events across the season with a platform like roster. Not everyone uses it.
Right, okay.
Obviously, it's competitive. There are different systems out there that you could use, and everyone weighs up the pros and cons as they do with any supplier. But yeah, there's those kind of things that help them across a season. There's also there's a website, Power of 10. It's actually down at the moment, interestingly, to mention it, for development. But it's basically it's looked after by UK Athletics, and it's basically lists all athletes' performances.
Right.
So most athletes are sad. I count myself sad statisticians, really.
Yeah.
So if you've got a list of all of your personal bests and all the races you've done, you love it, and things feed in backwards and forwards into with roster and Power of 10 as well. So it's just, as I say, it's information flow. It's a lot better.
I think so, and obviously if we look at something like football, which is obviously a massive amount of money, the vests that the guys wear, you see the stats that the guys in, you were 25% faster when you're doing the blah, 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 but that must be, the information must be gold. So therefore for the athletes, does that help in terms of, I remember watching a documentary about Usain Bolt, and, when before his rise to fame, one of his problems was, his start wasn't good, so they literally just filmed him starting again and again, and they sat analysing what he can do. But without technology, that's not possible. In the early days, it was like, maybe I shouldn't have had that fag before I started the race, because back then it wasn't thought about, was it?
Yeah, this kind of technology we use is more kind of for the entry, seeding and results, so there's no kind of analytics involved in that sense. Yeah. But you're right, you do see a lot of people filming more now.
Yes.
Again, going back to my discipline as an official, as a starter and starter's assistant, we often get people filming from the stands as well, trying to dispute our decisions as well. I think so. So filming can be a bit of a pain, to be honest with you, for officials. But yeah, in the warm-up areas and in the stands, you do get people filming a lot more to give athletes that feedback, of course.
Yeah. But if we flip it now from the technology point of view for you, you mentioned about the QR codes and the tags and that must be just so much easier. So you've got the photo finished, but as people are crossing the line, it's down to the millisecond, isn't it?
Yeah, the whole thing of QR codes and things, it helps us be more efficient as well, because the QR code's obvious. Someone scans it on the phone, they're straight to the results links, and they don't have to ask us, so we can continue. It sounds harsh saying you don't want human interaction, but the less questions you have on a day, the more you can make it autonomous for the whole system, the whole day to be autonomous and automatic, and people can help themselves by you providing obvious information. It just allows you the chance to not have a stress cloud appear, and going back to what we spoke, not have any stress clouds appear, and be able to kind of mild firefight rather than hectic firefight as you're going through the day. Yeah.
No, exactly. So taking the technology to you as administrator, do you sometimes, let's say that you've either volunteered, you've administrated the 2-day event, sounds silly, when you get a break, which I know you never do, but do you then take stock of all the information from that 2-day event to try and work out how can Northern Athletics be better?
We tend to, I tend to make sure that the people who need to know get the information passed on to them.
Okay.
So field events, sort of the timings of the field events are always passed on to the Northern Board and future competition directors, so they can see how long did an event last, with how many athletes taking how many throws, so that timetabling can be improved in the future.
Good.
One of the main things I take stock of after an event is we use forms, so cloud-based forms, to get feedback from athletes as well, which again, it's dead easy for people to just get an email with a link, with a little box to fill in their feedback for us to be able to kind of look for improvements after the event. And with it being in a computer already, the forms automatically fill a table, so I can just pass them on as well. Again, so you're not having people needing to fill in paper forms, which are less likely to do because it's more of an effort, and I'm not having to kind of go through it. It's just there in the table.
Yeah, but as you say, information. Some people will look at that information, statistically look at it and go, well, actually, we can improve. This is an area we can improve. This is not an area we can improve.
Yeah.
How the athletes feeding back their feedback effectively, again, allows you to improve, and it allows you to take stock of each event. And I think we're all human. We just want to get better and better at things, don't we?
Yeah, and the cloud-based forms helps us in other ways as well. For example, if you've got a season coming up, which we do, junior, senior championships and inter-county championships, we've got 5 days of athletics, and we want the technical officials to give their availability to which days they can officiate.
Right.
In the past, an email had got out.
Yeah.
Can you officiate? And then 10 billion emails have come in. What do you do with that? Whereas again, we use cloud-based forms now, which automatically populate a spreadsheet for you.
Yeah.
So sifting through 10 billion emails is no longer a thing, because you just get presented with a spreadsheet with all the answers there.
Yeah.
So it's just that efficient working and having data presented to you, which you can then pass on to the selectors and analyse who's applying for what, who's not, why not, that type of thing. Yes, as you say, what sort of information, all these things that the information is just there in an easier format for us should we need to analyse things after an event or post an event.
No, it's perfect. Very quickly touching, how does Northern Athletics, and to be fair, how does the other athletics around the UK, how do you all feed up into a huge event like the Olympics? Obviously the London Olympics was a fantastic event. We excelled. I watched it vividly. It was amazing. Do you feed up into that? Do you work up into that?
So in this kind of tree, if you like, the Christmas tree, the pyramid, whatever. So athletes that have competed at our events can then go on to national events, and hopefully from their times at the England Championships or the British Championships, gain selection to big events. This year is massive in our country as well. You spoke about going with your dad to Glasgow. So this year the Commonwealth Games are in Glasgow.
Yes.
The European Championships are in Birmingham.
Yeah.
So the opportunities for athletes and officials, or the strain on officials who have got to give their time for this type of thing. It's a massive year in Britain for athletics,
and it's fantastic, isn't it? For some reason I seem to feel as though we've grown as a country in terms of athletics. We've obviously got the women's Lionesses, fantastic result from them, and again even the men's events was really good. But there's always seems to be another event, and I'm always looking forward to it.
I think that people in Britain appreciate athletics a lot more than other countries. So that the highlight of my officiating career, get this in now. the highlight of my officiating career was I started some races at the London Diamond League this year, and there was 65,000 people there. And Femke Bol, the Dutch athlete, was saying how she loves competing in Britain because it's particularly the London Diamond League, because it's always sold out. And that's just it. I think British people love the athletics at that level.
Yeah.
And the crowd at that event, and I'm sure in Birmingham and Glasgow this year are going to be huge as well.
No, it's fantastic, isn't it? And lovely the fact that we can also get the TV coverage. Back then, you didn't get it that much. You had to sort of like tune into Grandstand. God, I'm sure I'm my age now. Whereas now it's 24/7. You can catch up, you can review. They've obviously got the iPlayer and the ITVX where you can go back, watch from the start, rewind, watch it again. We are hungry as a nation for the stats and the actual athletes' improvements and performance, and it's great to see.
I think so. You mentioned the TV coverage. It's disappointing this year. I haven't heard anything about Birmingham and the Euros, but I know Glasgow, the Commonwealth Games, it's on TNT Sport. The BBC didn't win the bidding, so it's probably good for the sport to have it televised full stop, but you just wish it was on a more mainstream channel.
Yeah, but I think again, downside to that is it's all about the money, it's all about the sponsorship. I often say this, it's a no-win situation. You'll have people going, why are you spending money advertising? Why are you spending money trying to get the Glasgow blah, blah, blah? You should be spending it on this, and then you'll get the opposite. It's a no-win situation.
Yeah, and money certainly makes the world go around, even at our level. So about 2017, there was a reduction in competition grants available for area level athletics. Right. So since 2017, Northern Athletics has run an affiliation scheme where clubs that want to affiliate to allow their athletes to compete in Northern Championships, they make a contribution of £2 per head of membership into the pot, which allows for the running of our events.
Absolutely.
It's a lot of it comes down to money nowadays.
No, exactly. No, never mind. Every podcast this year is probably going to touch on AI because it's the big buzzword. Do you feel as though AI is making an impact not only to athletics in Hallmark, but obviously to you as an administrator that's got loads and loads of emails and things going on? You mentioned about the cloud, but will AI touch you in any way?
I'm not sure. It's something I'm yet to get into.
Right.
I need to look into it because obviously to work more efficiently, and if anything can take things out of my hands, it'd be a good thing.
Yeah.
At present, sort of our most busy time of the year tends to be the winter with indoors and cross country, and we have our AGM. So it's something that when I get my head a bit higher out of the water in the next couple of months, I'll look into. The one thing I have thought though is I like my human touch about things. So I'm not sure whether I'd want AI doing too much for me. But one of the things as a general person, a lot of the things I pick up about AI at the moment is, people who use it to fake things at the moment, which seems insane at the moment.
It's just madness.
But as far as the positives go, it's something I definitely need to look into, and you being in the same building, I might ask your views on it a few times.
No, and it's interesting because you're right. We mentioned last year that we had a very great seminar here within Business Central, and the gentleman, forgive me, I can't remember his name, lovely French gentleman, he was saying if you only allow Copilot, AI, Gemini, ChatGPT to do 20% of your mundane stuff, then you're using AI effectively. It's still, I believe, even though the world seems to be AI mad, it's still in its infancy. And I think as humans, we've got to understand what impact it is. Some people are embracing it. Scrolling through my feed this morning, it was a lion breaking out of a zoo, mauling somebody, and then happily playing with a kitten ball. And you're like, but that's just AI generated. Why on earth I don't understand.
It's something I'll definitely get my head into, because I think, personally, I'm 4 years into this role and we've made lots of changes, and I can't stand still.
No.
I think it'd be a danger for me in the organisation if I thought this is how we're going to keep working, because then I turn into one of the people of an age who doesn't want change. I do need to kind of look at what are the next developments and how we can kind of weave it into what we do. So it's definitely on a list.
Unless you introduce a new sport called standing still, and then there might be some winners.
Inertia. The sport of inertia. How many things can fly around you while you do nothing? Yeah.
No, absolutely. Have a think about that one. I painted that idea. What's the next steps for you? What's the next steps for Northern Athletics? You mentioned you are quite a small team, I believe. Is that right?
As I said, there's two board members per discipline. I think there's 2 co-opted board members on top of that. So the core team's not huge.
Not huge, no.
So we are indebted to the people who turn out and volunteer at our events and take the lion's share of the work on those weekends.
Yeah. But are you looking to grow? Is there room to grow? Is there any advancements? What's your plans? Let's say, where do you see yourself in 5 years' time now?
I think we just want to keep offering what we're offering, but get more athletes involved in athletics at our level.
Yeah.
We're always looking at the entry figures. You might have seen Sophie Warden does an insane job on our social media.
Yes.
and that's definitely what we're working on at the moment, improving the athlete experience.
Right.
Which has been done by roster and the results and things.
Of course it has.
But the things that the funny things that Sophie's doing on social media, there's one with a video of some officials dancing last week. She does lots of great things with the champions. She's done some gimmicks where champions in the summer had pictures with crowns and she's just doing things that are very different and engaging with the athletes, and that's what we want to do. We want to become more engaging, get more people involved. And I had a silly buzz phrase a few years ago where I used to say grassroots to the Diamond League. We are grassroots athletics, but let's make it feel a bit like a Diamond League event.
I like that. That's really good.
And developing the social media and that athlete experience is something we want to continue doing, because we think that'll make people enjoy the events more, especially and the officials.
Well, absolutely.
And just create a buzz around the events.
But surely you were talking about engaging, and surely as we talked about, shall we say, the older generation, the younger generation, they are future athletes.
Indeed.
So, you mentioned about the age changing right at the very start. So you originally do 13, but it's...
So at the moment, the age groups under 13, under 15, under 17, odd age groups. But England Athletics has done some studies where they think that athlete retention around A-level age will be improved if athlete age groups change to under 14, under 16, under 18.
Right.
Because people's exams won't fall on the same years that they're in the top year of an age group.
Okay.
Not everyone agreed, but that's where we're at. There's a lot of things with technology, perhaps. People who keep lots of big spreadsheets about records. All the records are going to start again now, because there's going to be no under 13s, under 15s, under 17s events being ran. So effectively, it's year zero for a lot of records.
Yeah.
Administrators like myself, we've got to work with the board now to create new timetables for events next year, which we haven't quite started yet. Plans for the future, short term, adapt the new age group rules that England Athletics have introduced.
Interestingly, you used the word adapt. I was speaking to a good friend of mine last week. He works in the automotive industry, and he was saying that if he looks back 20 years at change, whatever that change may have been, Mark, you sat around a table, you discussed, you worked out how, you ran a pilot project, you then ran it for a few months, and then I said, nowadays, Andy, if we're not adapting within 2 to 3 weeks, we're losing ground to other people that are grasping that. How do you feel as though, is it a marathon? Is it a sprint? Put it into your words.
We need to adapt very quickly.
Right.
The Inter-County Championships at Shildon, actually, just around the corner in County Durham, they're at the end of May.
Right.
So we've got to be quick. A lot of things tend to be thrust on us very quickly.
Right.
So we have to be quick.
Okay.
I think today society is actually, if we jump back 40 minutes or so to the cross-country entry system, society is just less forgiving nowadays as well.
Tell me about it.
One of the people who was struggling with the new system actually threw out, the previous system was developed over 25 years. Yeah.
Right.
So give the system in its first year the chance then.
Absolutely right. You can't compare.
So I think society expects you to adapt quickly now.
Without a shadow.
Yeah. So I think just society's expectations and how things get thrust upon you from, the powers that be. I think you've just got to adapt fast and crack on with things nowadays.
Adapt fast, but I think, interestingly, what you've just said there, you've maybe got to have a touch of realism in terms of your 25 years of experience. You can't expect it to do
but
that.
Again, talking about the automotive industry, and all the things that those people do, there's with things that I'm thinking of Pareto analysis and the mistakes and things. All these people run trials, and they improve from trials, and failure is a bad word, isn't it? Maybe that's the point I'm making. Failure is an indicative piece of information to allow you to adapt further.
100%.
Whereas a lot of people just jump on it now, whereas actually you've got to... It's like that thing of... It's better to kind of try something and fail than not to try anything at all, because, you've got to get that information from the failure to adapt further. But the majority of people, unfortunately, don't see it like that.
No, last week, and I know I'm repeating it, but in case you missed it, last week I basically, the summary of the story is, under my mentor, the mentor made a decision. Half the team didn't want to make a decision. That decision that the mentor made was wrong, but when he came back and he went, but I made a decision, I now know it's the wrong decision, therefore I've learned. What have you learned by not making a decision?
Indeed.
And that's what you were saying. Without failure, I've done some things that have been catastrophic, and I've always said that the next time I'm approaching where I could be potentially making the hairs on the back of my neck and I'm going, whoa, but if I've never had that experience, how does anybody learn?
And again, we joked about this, if you could introduce a sport of doing nothing or inertia. Sometimes you just got to go with something, because staying put and doing nothing just... It's not. You're not going to get anywhere.
You're not going to get anywhere. And again, going back to last week's episode with Tilly, you always get that person, but I've always done it this way. I don't want to change. But I think we are a nation now. I mean, obviously, we still joke now. Breaking news. The president steps off the plane. I'm like, well, it's not breaking, is it? But we are a hungry nation. We want to have that information fed to us, drip-fed, constantly. There's no such thing as reading the news on a 24-hour basis anymore. We are drip-fed it constantly. Do you feel as though that's an advantage for the athletics, though? Because if we do that for the young people, surely we will excite them to want to be successful and go from your grassroots to the Diamond League.
I think so. I mean, going back to the social media, we've not just doing better, but increased amount of information on social media, and that's what young people use now.
It is, isn't it?
The officials dancing video that Sophie did for the weekend, over 30,000 views. Over 30,000 views. So that's what we've got to be doing to engage our target audience.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, summing up then, what do you feel as though has been the best thing about you being an administrator for Northern Athletics in terms of just yourself, personal experience and personal goals? You obviously love your job, because I see how fast you run around this building, and yet you're still here, my friend. I wasn't trying to use the word stress. I was being nice, Mark. But I do see you stressed out, to use your words. Andy, bye, I'm on. Trolley, watch out, I'm going. You are like a whirlwind, but you must love it. 4 years in, you must get a buzz.
I think I get a buzz because, I'm working in a sport I love.
Yes.
So even though I'm developing things, I'm analysing data, I'm organising things, I'm putting it in place, that's a job to a lot of people where they work. But because I love my sport, my joke about being the most connected person in the North, there's certain tracks, there's certain facilities I love going to because the people there are great. Yeah. My close colleagues are great. The people that I'm involved with are absolutely fantastic, and that's the buzz. I'm doing a job, but it doesn't feel like a job. And then, you know, all these things with the technology we've brought in so far, a sense of pride, perhaps, because
nice.
we've moved on. We've
Yeah.
moved on in the time I was here. And but again, it's the people around me that have made that possible. And, you know, we've talked about what do I do. I support officials, I support athletes. But without a shadow of a doubt, I couldn't do it without them.
Nice. That's a nice point to end up on. In terms of how do people get hold of you? I mean, you're not a business as such in the real sense, as in, you know, Resilient. You obviously do provide a wonderful service, but do you still need people volunteering? How do people get
If
hold of you?
people wanted to get in contact with
please.
us, there's Northern at www.northernathletics.co.uk.
Yeah.
Our contact details are on there.
Yeah.
And then obviously we're searchable on social media for
Yeah. Join the dance.
For anyone who wants to see people dancing around EIS Sheffield on a weekend. Yeah.
Mark, that's been fantastic in terms of the podcast. Really interesting. I hope people have been as interested as I have to the insights of not only your job, but the athletics and the volunteers. So it's been fantastic. Thank you so much for that.
Hopefully I didn't stutter too much on any of my answers.
Now, normally I ask people what they're doing for the weekend and they're relaxing. I very much doubt you're relaxing this
Do you
weekend.
know, this weekend might not be too bad because we don't have an event on this weekend, but tonight's a closing date for the Junior Indoor Championships entries. Sunday is a closing date for next week's cross-country championships. So while I've got no physical lifting to do this weekend, it'll be supporting people who have questions regarding those entries. So always on.
Is it a seven days a week job?
It could be if on the odd occasion I didn't say enough's enough and turn the phone off, because you have to sometimes, because even though I love what I do and I'm blessed to work in the sport I love, you do need to switch off sometimes.
No, you do, and obviously you need to spend some time with the family and some friends
100%.
and have that breakdown. But you repeat what I repeat. Sometimes I do work on a Saturday to try and catch up with things, but actually I love it. I genuinely love it.
So what are you doing this weekend then?
Well, this weekend's different. I'm rebuilding my games cabinet. So I've got an arcade machine where I love all of the old retro games, the Pac-Mans, the Asteroids, the Mr. Doos, the Bomber. And I've had I built an arcade machine about 5 years ago, but the PC inside has had its day. So I'm busy ripping it all out and putting it all back together again.
Because you don't have enough of computers during the week.
Because I don't have enough of computers during the week. And then we're off to see some friends on Saturday night, so we've been invited over for a Chinese, so that's lovely. And then Sunday, just dinner with my dad. But I think Hannah and my son Daniel, they're coming over, and again, we'll probably do a bit of arcade machining, so that's been great. So listen, Mark, thank you very much indeed for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, absolutely, and hopefully everybody gets to watch the dancing of the spectators. But Mark, thank you so much. Everybody else, have a great weekend. Thank you. Bye.